Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson. Today we're listening to Friendly Foes. Ready or not, here they come. You can't hide from Mommy, Anna. Here I come. You're a very good hider. Where are you? Anna? Oh, sweetie. Sweetie. Oh, honey. 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 Oh, sweet girlie.
Set against the backdrop of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Galax, Virginia, is the kind of sleepy southern town where serious trouble rarely strikes. But when an alarming call does come into the city's 20-person police department, the response time is immediate. As law enforcement, the adrenaline kicks in and I won't say get tunnel vision, but you're focused on trying to get there as quick as you can. As I approached the side porch, I did notice that the strike plate was laying on the porch itself, which would be the part that holds the door closed.
Miss Kenny? Melissa Kenny? This is Sergeant Hines, Galax PD.
I was walking along, just making sure to clear each room as I go. Of course, the adrenaline's pumping, your heart rate's up. I saw Miss Kenny was going toward the foot of the bed. She was partially covered with a bed comforter. I did check for a pulse, didn't locate one at that time. I went ahead and notified dispatch to give me a detective on call.
What have they got?
Officer Hines told me that he had made entry into the house through a side door which was open, and that a female body was in the rear bedroom. We didn't know whether it was suicide, murder. At that time, we had no clue. About all they're positive of is the victim's identity, 28-year-old Alyssa Kenny.
What's going on?
While we were standing outside, I saw Mike Alley, who I've known for years to be a resident of the street.
My boy's fiance lives here. Everything all right?
Mike, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. He said, well, I hate to tell you, but she's deceased. And I was just beside myself. My mind, first thing my mind went to was, where is that baby?
My initial thoughts were, please God, let it be with the babysitter. Let it be with the father. Don't let it be there.
We re-entered the house and we start room by room looking to see if we can find the child. We get back to the bedroom where the female's body was. On the bed, there was a blue blanket. When I raised up the blanket, the child was visible and obviously deceased, and it does hit home. This is a double homicide. I know it's a part of the job. There's nothing will ever prepare you for the scene that we saw that day.
In Galax, where everyone pretty much knows everyone, the victims and Police Chief Rick Clark have crossed paths before. Just over a year ago, the chief was reading a neighborhood Facebook group and came across a plea for help.
It was bitterly cold, and there was a post from Melissa that her pipes were frozen. She had an infant child and she didn't have water to make formula. So I took her a gallon of water to make formula to feed the baby. I will never get the sight of the child out of my mind till I die.
For the Galax police chief, solving the horrific double murder becomes priority number one.
There was a child involved. I knew that it was going to be a high-profile case, that it was going to scare people in this city. We've got to catch this person. This cannot go unsolved.
About 20 minutes later, as local crime scene investigators work to complete a full canvass of the house, Alyssa's mother arrives on the scene.
I got there thinking I was going to pick up my daughter and granddaughter. And when I pulled up, I parked the car and I got out thinking, what is going on?
I'm afraid I got some bad news.
And he said, ma'am, there's been a homicide. And it was almost like tunnel vision. I couldn't even grasp it. What are you talking about?
Growing up, Alyssa was the youngest in a tight-knit clan of 5 siblings.
She was the princess. She was the youngest. We treated her accordingly. And she was beautiful. She was a great person. And I loved her, loved her with all my heart.
Allie, as her family called her, was full of energy and personality, and she was friendly and kind to everyone she met.
Allie was she had a beautiful soul. I think that was her most special trait.
Allie was the embodiment of love. She really loved everything extremely hard.
When Alyssa was in her early 20s, a bad breakup with a boyfriend leaves her looking for a change.
We had an uncle who lived out in Virginia in Galax, and his wife had passed a couple years prior, and he wasn't in the greatest health.
At 24 years old, Alyssa takes the opportunity to help her uncle out as a chance to start fresh. What she hadn't planned for was falling in love with the literal boy next door, Austin Alley.
What probably attracted her to Austin is simply he is adorable and he's very sweet and can be very charming.
Alyssa fell hard for him, and soon she finds out she's pregnant.
She became an aunt when she was 15, I think, for the first time. So there were always little children, and she just always knew that's what she wanted.
When she found out she was having her own baby, she was over the moon excited.
On June 6, 2014, Alyssa gives birth to her daughter, Anastasia.
She spent every day just, reveling in the joy that was her baby. Every smile, every laugh, every accomplishment, every milestone, that was her daughter.
21 months later, both mother and daughter's deaths are ruled to be murder. Veteran detectives J.B. Greer and Robbie Eisen are charged with finding out who could be responsible for such horror.
Looks like it's been here a while.
Might have been some old damage on the door, but it didn't really look like anybody had kicked in the door or anything. It didn't look to me like any forced entry as far as that goes.
What does this mean about Alyssa and Anna's murderer?
I didn't think it was a stranger. I felt like it was somebody that she knew. I just felt like that somebody she might have trusted or something, just the way the scene was.
There was a very strong smell of bleach that was instantly noticed after we made it past the kitchen area going through the living room.
This certainly suggests the killer took the time to clean up the scene before leaving.
This would explain the bleach. There was an empty, appeared to be like a bleach bottle or spray bottle, something there on the floor.
You could tell that bleach was used in the room. There were certain clothes there that the bleach had been slung on.
After their examination of the crime scene and its possible cover-up, Greer and Isom return to the police station where Alyssa's mother, Stacy, is waiting to be interviewed.
Mrs. Ludy, I'm Detective Greer. This is Detective Isom. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss.
I've got a little granddaughter that's just a little older than that, but not a lot. So all you can think about is what fed with your grandkid.
Can you tell us about when you got here in Galax?
Yesterday.
I understand. Take your time. I'm just hoping that you might be able to help us figure out who would have done this.
Allie didn't have any enemies. You know, nobody's perfect, but she was just nice and sweet, and she didn't cross people, and she tried to help people.
What about the father of her child? Have you spoken to him?
He's in jail.
Are you sure?
Yes. Violated his parole or something. She was in love with Austin. She did not cheat on him. She did not see other men. She had girlfriends and that had little kids, and they would, you know, they had their own little fun community, mommy and baby thing. But there were no guys.
Tonight, they are mourning as police search for the person who killed a young mother and her 21-month-old child yesterday.
I can't imagine killing someone, but murdering a child? No.
Now their families have a message. Please, for Anna and Allie. Please. If you know something, come forward. No detail is too small, because if someone is capable of killing them, there is no telling what he, she, or they would do.
The devil was walking loose in the city. There was an evil persona here. People didn't feel safe. It affected the way we were living. It affected the way people looked at us.
Galax, Virginia, is a small, scrappy manufacturing town. One that's as well known for its natural beauty as for its old-time Appalachian music. We're host of the largest and oldest old-time fiddlers convention in the world, and that's been going on for 80-plus years now. Over the years, Galax has had as many ups and downs as the surrounding Blue Ridge Mountains. But no one in the 7,000-person town is prepared for the horror reported on March 10th, 2016.
Police in Galax say they found the bodies of 28-year-old Alyssa Kinney and her daughter, 21-month-old Anastasia Alley, at their home. Neighbors say they're shocked.
I don't see what in the world. I don't see what would have made somebody do a horrible thing like that.
Police did not name any suspects, but say they're actively pursuing leads and interviewing witnesses.
With her fiancé Austin Alley in jail and no other leads, detectives focus on all the facts they do have.
We went to trying to figure out a timeline of where she had been, who was the last person to see her, who had been there, talk with the neighbors, and then the one who had reported it.
And that turns out to be Alyssa's neighbor, Richard Nossinger.
Mr. Nossinger, thanks for agreeing to meet us.
Of course. Listen as a friend.
Can you take us through this morning before you contacted the police?
Well, I was walking by, and I noticed her cat was outside. She's an inside cat.
He recalled hadn't seen this particular lady and child, and was concerned.
Did you notice anything out of place in the house?
No. I mean, I didn't look around or anything.
He did say that he went to her quite often, and hang out with her.
Believing the killer may be someone Alyssa knew, detectives asked Knopfsinger to provide a DNA sample.
He consented to have a sample of his DNA collected, as well as hair and fingernail scrapings.
Next, police look into another report of suspicious activity that came in on the morning of the murders.
We got a call at 11:32 a.m. that morning from a neighbor who stated that there was a male beating on her door with a backpack. He appeared sweaty. Basically, it scared her, so she called the police department.
It's a lead that intrigues police.
With the witness stating that the person had a backpack, we were interested in the contents of that backpack.
We went approximately a half mile in every direction, checking garbage cans, dumpsters, behind buildings, in alleys, and cars.
Meanwhile, the lead detectives work to put together a clearer picture of the victim, Alyssa Kenny. To do that, they meet with Michael Alley, the father of Alyssa's fiancée, who happens to also live right across the street.
Mike helped work it out, I think, to get her there so he could kind of watch over her a little bit and the little girl while, Austin was incarcerated.
Did Alyssa have any friends over?
I don't know. I mean, she always had people coming and going all the time.
It worried me because, you can really get in trouble by just opening your door to anybody.
Anyone in particular? Somebody of Austin's checking up on her?
Yeah. I saw Jesse and Noah Dixon over there a few times. Noah more than that.
He had been incarcerated with my son down there. They was pretty good friends at one time, but I don't know what happened to the guy. He just got real weird.
Alyssa was scared of Noah over just the way he acted. Would just stand and stare at her, never say a word. Tell him not to come, he'd show up anyway. Just that sort of thing.
Do you think she ever talked to Austin about it?
I don't know. We got to talk to him about that. He's over in county.
As a matter of fact, that's where we're headed next.
In any murder investigation, those closest to the victim are the first to be under suspicion. And just because he's in prison doesn't get Austin Alley off the hook.
We had to look into all possibilities of the fact that he, being incarcerated, could have gotten someone else to do it. The possibility that he was mad at her now and he wants somebody to take care of that problem for him.
No one seems to think Austin is mad at Alyssa. Certainly not mad enough to put his daughter Anna in harm's way. But could there be something they don't know?
I understand you're in here on a parole violation. Yeah. This happened because I wasn't there. So you think this is your fault somehow? I wasn't there to protect my family, was I? Protect them from? Are you kidding me? From whoever did this.
My question was, did he owe somebody a lot of money? If that could be a reason and somebody was retaliating because of that?
No. Your father mentioned a friend named Noah Dixon. So they stayed over at the house.
He told her not to be around him, that he may have been crazy. You don't need to be hanging out with him.
Could he have done this? Yeah, maybe. He's crazy. What about Alyssa? She has any enemies? Maybe Glenn Lewis. He may have had something to do with it.
Glenn Lewis had been wanted by the police, and his ex-girlfriend turned him in for the reward money. That was where this come from, that it might be retaliation because Allie had helped her do that.
What's the name of the ex-girlfriend, the one who set all this up? Abigail Harris.
According to Austin, there's more to the story. Abigail has a new boyfriend. We found that out, that her and Noah had had a relationship. They lived down here on Main Street together in an apartment for some time. In Noah Dixon and Glenn Lewis, detectives now have two persons of interest.
Okay. Thank you. He's out.
and learning Lewis has been released from prison gives credence to a revenge theory. But it isn't the only one detectives have brewing. For the residents of Galax, Virginia, since news of Alyssa Kenny and her 21-month-old daughter Anastasia's double homicide broke, an unfamiliar feeling has been taking over.
I was scared. Couldn't sleep. Every night all I could think of was, what if I don't wake up? What if it went the same way?
This never happens in Galax. It scared me.
A fear that is felt deeply by law enforcement.
We knew that we had an obligation to make this a safe place. And it was not a safe place while this monster was walking the streets.
There was a lot of days we worked our hands off. A lot of nights we didn't sleep at all.
We were driven and consumed to find the person that did this. It moved beyond a job.
Lab results are in.
Forensic specialist Aaron Kreiner arrives with the preliminary autopsy results on Alyssa and Anna Kenny.
The ME findings was manner of death was homicide on both victims, and then the cause of death for Alyssa was strangulation by ligature, and for Anna it was asphyxiation.
Looks like they also found some raw patches on the adult female's elbows and knees, like maybe she put up a fight.
Looks like we were right about the bleach.
But it didn't work. The lab was able to find foreign DNA.
The cord from the vacuum cleaner was used to strangle the mother, and part of the DNA evidence was DNA samples taken from that vacuum cleaner cord.
The medical examiner immediately sends the DNA to the state crime lab. A match could help pinpoint a suspect, but that will take weeks.
Keep us posted.
In the meantime, police decide to pay Alyssa's friend Abigail Harris a visit. The Abigail Harris that also has ties to two of their main persons of interest, Noah Dixon and Glenn Lewis.
Sorry about the mess. Had a lot on my mind. I was there, you know.
Where?
At the house. Or behind it, by the creek.
Abigail explained to me that she had come that morning to go down there to try to rent one of those cabins for her kid's birthday party. And when she come down, she seen all the people over there.
Did you see anything or anyone suspicious while you were down there?
A man.
Can you describe him?
Abigail describes the same man with a backpack others had seen in the area.
And the river trail runs right behind our crime scene. And that could have been somebody coming off the trail. I mean, it's really hard to locate a white male that's sweating profusely dressed in all black.
Let's talk about your ex-boyfriend, Glenn Lewis.
What does Glenn have to do with anything?
You turned him into the authorities in North Carolina. You and Alyssa.
She had a lot of domestic, him and her, a lot of domestic problems.
Have any idea where he is?
Nope.
When was the last time you saw Noah Dixon? Does he live here?
No, not no more. That's the person you need to be talking to. He was all over Alyssa.
Alyssa's fiance, Austin, went to jail. And when Austin's in jail, he was trying to make a move on her.
Abigail claims it had gotten so bad one night that Alyssa called his brother Jesse.
She had Jesse to remove Noah and take him away, from the residence because he was getting out of hand and hard to deal with, and she didn't want him there. She'd been shunning him supposedly in his eyes, and his words was, "If I can't have you, then no one will."
The things that was told about him really made him a good suspect.
And according to Abigail, they can probably find him at his brother's house.
I went to his apartment just to see what I could find. And I spoke with his girlfriend and his brother who were there.
Any idea when he'll be back?
Not exactly. He goes off like this, sometimes for a day or two.
Or sometimes more.
Detectives confirm with Jesse the story about him having to go collect Noah from Alyssa's house.
Look, Noah can be crazy, but he wouldn't hurt Alyssa if that's what you're thinking.
He wanted to believe that his brother would never do something like that, but at the same time, he had saw Noah violent before.
If you see or hear from Noah, let him know we're looking for him.
So you can arrest him?
We just need to talk to him. The rest is up to Noah. Is this bleach?
Yeah.
She said, well, they'd had a problem with bed bugs, and they sprayed the bleach around the edges of the bed would keep down to kill the bed bugs or keep them out or whatever. That struck with me from having strong odor of bleach in Alyssa's home.
Unfortunately, according to his brother and few other known associates, Noah seems to have vanished without a trace.
Okay. Well, if you see him, let me know.
Noah, probably 95% in my mind, he was the person.
But police know that until they're 100% confident in making an arrest, a killer still stalks the streets of Galax. And if they're on the wrong track, he stands a chance of getting away. As one day passes to the next, the murders of Alyssa Kenny and her daughter Anna remain unsolved. And though it's growing harder, the family refuses to lose faith that the killer will be brought to justice.
Well, there was a lot of speculation as to who it could be. Rumors fly here and there, and more to the idea that be patient and wait for the police to do their job.
It's hard as a dad to see a heinous act like that toward a child. You still have that back of your mind. I've got to get this person that's responsible for this in jail so everybody can sleep better at night.
The police chief was wonderful. He was wonderful. If I would call, he would answer his cell phone. I'd say, I'm sorry I'm bothering you. He'd say, you will never bother me.
I had a squad of 4 people working, which is a full staff for us, plus 3 detectives. All 3 detectives are concerned with this case.
4 days after the murders, Vaughn Gwynn Chapel in Galax hosts a memorial service for Alyssa Kenny's friends and family.
Everyone she made contact with in her life wanted to come pay their respects. It was a horrible time. And just the tragedy alone touched so many people.
So it was pretty special, and I was glad that there was such a nice send-off for her. I really felt like they deserved it.
Among those in attendance is Detective Greer.
Mr. Dixon.
Yeah.
Detective Greer, I need you to come with me, please.
Seeking justice for Alyssa Kenny and her daughter Anna, investigators are relieved that their prime suspect, Noah Dixon, has been found.
Where you been, Noah? We've been looking for you.
Around? No.
No, I'm afraid I don't. You have to help me out here.
Noah's type of person. The first time I interviewed him, I couldn't get him to sit in the chair. You was constantly having to try to get him to sit back down, and one time he tried to get up and just walk into another room.
Why don't you sit back down? Tell me about you and Alyssa.
She was a friend. That's all.
How come she had to call your brother to come get you out of her house the other night?
Who told you that?
He had a really dark side to him. It just kind of give you the creeps to even talk to him. So I can see
Word she was afraid of him.
We need to know where you were the morning of March 10th.
With Carl, his alibi was he went from Jesse's apartment and he stayed with a friend.
I need you to give me Carl's address. I can go check that out.
Sure. Well, it's hard to interview somebody when you can't even get them set to see. You didn't know what was true that he was telling you, what wasn't. After answering a series of questions and getting Noah to submit a DNA sample, the police have no choice but to let him go. Detective Greer immediately heads to the address of Noah's friend Carl to check on his alibi.
Noah says he was with you all morning the day of the murder.
Well, yeah. Guess so.
You guess so?
No, I mean, definitely. He was here. I'm sure of it.
Which is it, Carl? Was he here or not?
We talked to that friend, and his alibi didn't pan out because that friend had went to sleep. He tried to cover for it, but he didn't have a clue where Noah was at. He don't know if he was there or if he went out or whatever. With no alibi, Noah Dixon remains a prime suspect. DNA will prove it one way or another. It just takes a long time, and there was one point that we were so tired of waiting. In the meantime, police start following up on every new lead coming in.
We were getting information from everybody, social media, our Facebook page, everyone calling in.
You have to look at everybody, and any tip or any lead that you get, you have to look into it and run it as far as it'll go. We had leads to follow. We had people we needed to talk to, witnesses, possible people who could tell us things. We put a lot of hours in it. You don't stop. You don't quit. You drive pretty hard.
I felt it could be solved. I really did. We just needed that one piece. There's just something, and it's going to come. We just got to stay after it.
Almost 6 weeks of hard work finally pays off when detectives get a surprising call from a well-known voice.
Greer. Hey, Abigail?
Abigail Harris tells the detective that she got a strange call from Jesse Dixon, Noah's brother.
What do you have to say?
It was about Noah. Jesse says you're after the wrong guy.
Is that so?
He did contact Abigail and said that we were just trying to frame Noah.
He says you should be talking to Ricky.
Ricky who?
He didn't say.
Do you know who Ricky is?
I think I do.
6 weeks after the shocking double murder of Alyssa Kenny and her young daughter Anna, the townspeople of Galax, Virginia, are still living in a state of fear. And there's only one way to change that: bring the killer to justice. The best chance of doing that lies in the new information Alyssa's friend Abigail Harris has come across.
You said on the phone you might know who Ricky is. Can you tell us?
After what Jesse told me about him, I realized he may have been the guy I saw down by the river.
And you know his last name?
No.
Armed only with a first name, detectives go back through their notes.
We talked to numerous interviews with various people and different ones around.
What if Ricky is Richard? Richard? Richard Nostick, the guy who discovered the bodies.
And the thing too, you have all this, no matter how small the lead is, we had to follow up on everything. The detectives immediately head to the address Nofsinger gave them.
Hello.
We're looking for Richard Knopfsinger.
Oh, he hasn't been here in a month.
Any idea where he might be?
He wasn't there, but we knew. He moved around. We pretty well knew not all the places that he moved around to. Unfortunately, Knopfsinger isn't at any of them. So they bring his friend Jesse Dixon back in for questioning.
Why don't you tell me about Ricky? You're talking about Richard Knopfsinger, right?
Yeah.
What makes you think he has anything to do with Alyssa's murder?
I just do.
He just felt like that we was looking at his brother so much and wasn't looking at Richard. But he himself, Jesse, had a connection with Richard also. He got pills from him. Detectives know better than to take Jesse simply at his word.
We knew, based on our prior experience with Noah's family, that they would lie to try to keep him out of trouble.
The detectives tell Jesse that if he wants to clear his brother's name, the best thing to do is convince him to come in for a polygraph test.
All possibilities are on the table at that point.
But when Noah Dixon shows up, things don't exactly go as planned. I point blank asked him if he had anything to do with the murders, and at one time he goes, "No. But yes, if you want me to say yes, yes, I did."
Tell you what, let's take the polygraph test and go from there. How's that sound?
Whatever, man. I couldn't keep him in the seat to do the polygraph.
Settle down. Just relax.
We decided at that point that we just back off of him and not approach him anymore while he was still willing to talk to see what did come back from her lab. Fortunately, it wouldn't be a long wait.
Galax Police Department, Chief Clark speaking.
My phone rang at 4:31 p.m. on May the 17th. It was the lab examiner in Richmond that told me that they had identified Richard Denny Knopfsinger as the source of the DNA.
After 2 months, Noah and Jesse Dixon are cleared. Now, all police need to do is find Knopfsinger and bring him in. It didn't take people no time to get him the word that we were looking for him. But not everyone wants to see him get away.
Galax Police? Oh, hold on. When the phone call came into dispatch, one of the dispatchers turned around and said, "Hey, I've got someone on the phone with some information." He said, "No, Ricky's at such and such address getting ready to leave us in this company."
It was a good feeling, knowing that we had him and we had what we needed to prove that he was the one. To the victim's family, news of the arrest brings a somewhat different reaction.
I was devastated when he was arrested, and I don't really understand that reaction. But I sobbed and I cried because it just brought home to me, they're dead, he's arrested, it's over.
If I'd have got my hands on this guy, there would have been no court trial. They would have never found a piece of him.
With Richard Knopfsinger in custody, police get a warrant to search his possessions. And going through the memory cards on his digital camera reveals a far more horrifying tale than they could ever imagine.
I located files that had been recently deleted, and at that time I found images of children that Knopfsinger was sexually abusing. So that led us into further investigation.
So how did Knopfsinger's history of abusive behavior lead to the murder of Alyssa Kenny and her young daughter. Knopfsinger refuses to talk, but police piece together what they feel is a likely scenario. Like many of the women Knopfsinger targeted, Alyssa had no idea that he was a dangerous predator.
My personal opinion is that he was there, but she wouldn't try to defend her child. I think he went into a rage and killed her.
Allie and Anastasia didn't make it, but they did stop this man who had hurt other little girls before. They stopped him, and they should be remembered as the heroes that they truly are.
In October 2017, Knopfsinger pleads guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder in the case of Alyssa Kenny and Anastasia Allie.
I remember just looking at him and just, I can't even really describe the feelings. It was just like I couldn't even breathe or move.
I looked at him and I said, "Do you? Do you have any remorse?" And he was looking at me, and I said, "You can answer me." Now, he couldn't. He wasn't supposed to. But I said, "You can answer me." And he said, "I regret everything about that day." And I'm thankful that Richard Knopfsinger apologized to me, as crazy as that sounds.
Due to his plea deal, Richard Knopfsinger is spared the death penalty and receives 2 life sentences.
I was furious. I wanted him dead. And most of that's fantasy. We do that when we're mad. We picture what we would do. What would I do if I could get my hands on this guy? No telling.
I am thankful that we were spared a trial, and I'm thankful that he is in jail where he should be.
Remembering the intense bond between mother and daughter has allowed Alyssa and Anna's family to find a way forward.
The love between them it couldn't be any more pure. You look at the pictures and Anna is looking at her and she just adores her mother.
Everything I'm going to do in my life now is going to honor the memory of my daughter and granddaughter because they're not here. And I'm going to live for them now.